Well, good afternoon. If it's Monday afternoon, it's Mondays with Michael live here on Facebook. Welcome to our Facebook group. Hoping everyone had a nice weekend. We had a very busy weekend here at Training Solutions and our family. As most of you know, if you follow me on Facebook, this was our 5th annual wine dinner weekend for the Bite Me Cancer Foundation. So quite hectic around here. A lot of friends from out of town and a party with 200 guests. And it was a great time. We raised a lot of money for the foundation. So thank you all. If you're listening to this and you were attending, or if you made a donation for the event, we thank you so much. The money this year is all going to go to our Teen Bag program, helping teenagers fight all types of cancer throughout the country. Our session today, Monday today, as we left you last week, we want to get back to this topic of harassment. We've been getting so many inquiries, requests, training opportunities, all this information based on what's happening in this country this last year or so around harassment and why is it so prevalent in today's workplace. As we said before, a lot of us who've been in this people space for a long time thought we had semi-conquered this in the 90s, and even in the 80s with some of the training we've done in the past, but it appears we did not, that we were assuming something that wasn't true. There's a lot of this happening out there. Organizations need to be prepared. And so today we're going to talk about that. What do you need to do to be prepared? What kind of policies do you need in place? And then what kind of training is available? We're going to actually offer you up some training that we have that can help both managers and their responsibilities when it comes to harassment, and those for employees who just need a general understanding what it is and what it isn't. We're going to do some of that for you today. But first, let's talk about why this is happening. What can you do to prepare yourself? Well, as we see in the news and we see in the newspapers, a lot of this happens, unfortunately, because senior management isn't engaged. There's a prevalence of culture like this in the workplace, and this has been going on for years. That's part of the problem. Part of the problem is that folks don't know what it is and what it isn't, so they need to be taught what it is and what it isn't. So we're going to go through a little bit of a policy. What has to be in your policy? So I did a little digging around today, and I found some research on policies. Some of these our organizations use, but I'm going to kind of give you a framework. If you don't have a policy in your organization, what your policy should look like. As always, if you have legal counsel, work with legal counsel in your organization. But a lot of small companies we work with don't have legal counsel. They go to outside legal counsel. So make sure you check with them. But a general anti-harassment policy and complaint procedure should have a couple key points. First, you should have the objective of the policy. Why are you having this policy and what is prohibited under this policy? So there's a general paragraph around why are we having this policy, why this is important to the business. But you want to start with a policy against discrimination of all types. You should have a discrimination policy for your hiring practice, promoting, working within the team. You should have a anti-discrimination policy. Then you want to work into the harassment policy. So there are several different types of harassment. So you want to have a general harassment policy in the organization that everybody understands, but then you also want to have a sexual harassment policy. The quid pro quo, the hostile work environment. You need to explain all these things in your policy. It needs to be written so people understand what it is and what it isn't. Once you have the policy written in place, you want to have a policy about retaliation. So if you have an employee that actually brings this up, and it gets out. Now, this should be done confidentially, but if it does come out a little bit in the discussion and in the investigation, you want to have a policy around retaliation. So if an employee actually makes a complaint, there's an anti-retaliation policy against that for that employee. Some policies, we did a little research, and some policies have actual information and policy around consensual romantic relationships in the workplace. Does your organization need a policy that says that people can't date in the workplace? You may want to have to go down that road. You may not want to go down that road. But I did see a lot of those types of policies in doing my research for today's session. You want to have a policy around the complaint process. So once somebody comes into the organization or into HR and complains about something, what type of investigation do you do? So there needs to be a process for the complaint to come forward. There needs to be a process of confidentiality. And there needs to be a complaint procedure, a process. This happens, this happens, this happens. Obviously, you need to talk to both sides. You need to talk to any witnesses. You need to talk to bosses. Those that are being complained upon need due process. So they need an opportunity to speak for themselves also. So you need to be fair in this process. So not only the person who's complaining, but you have to hear from the other party and or parties of what's going on and any witnesses. You need to do this confidentiality. You may need to have a third party in the room, a lawyer or something in the room, but definitely need to have a process. And then part of your policy needs to be any legal remedies outside of the internal investigation that you're going to do at the organization. Now, all this needs to be put in place, and all this needs to be communicated with the employees. So if you're starting with square one, you're starting with a blank sheet of paper. Once you have all this together, then you need to have these brown bag meetings or these staff meetings with everyone. So everyone's in tune to what this policy is, and you need to get them to sign off on the policy that they read it and understand their responsibility. For those of you that have these policies in place, I'm assuming, again, can't assume, but I'm assuming that you go through some of this in employee orientation. And if not directly in employee orientation, it gets done shortly thereafter. And employees need to be aware when they get on board on the company, these are the things that are acceptable behaviors and these are the unacceptable behaviors. Some companies have a zero tolerance policy that you'll get suspended until the investigation is done. So you may want to lay that out in the beginning of the orientation too. But you have to have a policy, you have to have a strong policy, you have to get senior management to find the policy. Then you have to create a culture of non-harassment. Create a culture of non-harassment. And how do you do that? Well, we have a couple free training programs I'm just going to kind of throw out there for you to think about. I am going to put some links into the comment section here today, just to kind of give you a little taste and breath of what we have to offer. We do offer classroom training. I was in New York recently to do a classroom harassment training, but we also do a lot of this online. Most of our clients are doing this online. We have a very easy process. We can push out these harassment programs to your employees. We can track them for you so that you don't need to get involved in the nitty-gritty of the actual training. That said, we do provide content, and you can train on your own, DVDs and coursework and that too. Probably one of our most popular programs is called It's Just Not About Sex Anymore. It's really for the general population. It's a series of vignettes, discussion, if you will, that employees see. There's some general overview about what harassment is and isn't. There are about a dozen vignettes in there, and then there's a legal attorney that comes in after each vignette. So some of them include harassment of foreign-born individuals, attempts to convert others to another particular religion, freedom of speech in the workplace, making fun of an overweight coworker, harassment of a pregnant coworker, discrimination based on gender identity, and potential issues with misplaced paternalism. So these are all vignettes that come in during the program. You watch the video, you hear the legal background about each of those cases, and then you discuss them in the classroom. So this is a really neat classroom-based program, but it's also offered online. It's about an hour course online for participants to take. That's for general employees. Now we do offer specific programs for managers and their legal responsibility around harassment. One is called Drawing the Line, Creating a Harassment-Free Workplace. It's updated with the 2018 updates to the law. And then managers know not only when they see it or don't see what it is, but they learn about their legal responsibilities because they are the eyes and ears of the company when they're outside the building at different locations, or even inside the building in different departments. They're responsible when they see it. They need to address it. They need to report it. They need to have these conversations. They need to get in front of all this, and HR can't be everywhere. So managers do have some legal responsibilities as officers of the company to make sure that these policies stay in place. So this program can be done online. It can be done in the classroom, but it's a good refresher, but it's a good place that managers will learn their responsibilities when it comes to harassment. So those are kind of two basic ones that we have. We have a new one that's been out there for a little over a month. One of our vendor partners put out. It's called Enough. And it just, it kind of means what it says. It's enough. It's like enough is enough. It's an approach to sexual harassment that talks about the cost on the back end. And it's a lot of interviews with employees based on a situation that happened previously and what's happened to their lives post-event. And it goes through both from the harasser to the person who was harassed, to HR, the manager. So they do all these face-to-face interviews. It's almost like a news show about what happened after this harassment happened to all these people. Someone lost their job, someone quit the company, and all that kind of thing. So again, this can be done in the classroom. It can be done online. It's called Enough. And again, I'll put a link into the comment section. Well, I see we're coming up at the top of the time here, so I just want to thank you for joining me today. Hopefully this is good information for you. Our session next Monday is on productive conflict. We'll talk about your approach to conflict and how you can change your mindset when it comes to conflict. See you next week, Monday with Michael's Live. Take care.